Clods. Welcome to another episode of the Crystal Them's a Steven Universe Rewatch podcast. We're back again. I am Liz, and with me, as always, is my favorite cool kid, or one of my favorite cool kids, Sid.
Hey. I wish I was a cool kid.
You're totally a cool kid.
You know who's the cooler kid? You, obviously.
Oh, oh no, this is just gonna be the whole episode.
A whole episode.
Wait,
Cool
do you know who are
kids.
the coolest kids? The Clods that listen to us.
Oh my god, you're
Oh,
so
see,
right.
suck up to the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Claude's coolest kids I know.
If you haven't figured out Clods, today we're talking about season 1, episode 14, Lars and the Cool Kids. To remind you of what this episode is, it's Lars and Steven hang out with Sour Cream, Jenny, and Buck, aka the Cool Kids, and
Mhm.
shenanigans happen.
Again, it's also, I think, our first introduction to all of the cool kids together.
Yes, we've kind of seen them from afar.
Yeah, but this is the first time we see them together, and I love them. I love the cool kids.
Love
They're
the
my
Cool
favorite
Kids.
characters. My
They
favorite
are
human characters.
they're not my favorite human characters. I love Sadie. Sadie owns my heart. But I definitely love the cool kids dynamic because they're kind of not what you think cool kids would be, which we'll get into as we get into the episode.
I love them because they're exactly what I remember cool kids like being in high school.
Oh, we went to very different high schools.
We did. I went to art school, which these feel like the vibes of kids who go to an art school.
These are not the vibes of kids who went to a public school in the country.
See, but this is definitely LA public school vibes.
That's fair. That's fair.
Where it's like, hey, so cool. Also, a real human.
Oh, that's funny. Squid, do you want to tell us about the cool kids who made this episode?
The cool kids who made well, actually, one of the cool kids did make this episode.
Oh, really?
Yes. So this episode aired March 10th, 2014. It is number 15 in the production code, despite airing as the 14th episode. This episode is written and storyboarded by Lamar Abrams, who voices Buck Dewey,
Oh,
and Matt Braley.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. This episode had 1.504 million US viewers upon air, which is
Wow.
a big jump from last week, which I believe was 1.73 million.
That's a big old jump.
Yeah, but still not the most, because Giant Woman, I believe, had the most so far at
Makes sense.
1.8. But that one did also have, I think, the most marketing for it. So this
Oh,
tracks.
yeah, and it's your first time you really see a big fusion.
Mhm. But yeah, so we do have the voice of Buck Dewey as the writer for the episode.
Oh, that's so cool.
Lamar Abrams voices Buck, also voices a few other characters. Suitcase Sam, Garbanzo, Y6.
Oh, there's a good number of like side characters.
Yeah, let me check if there's anyone else. But also does the writing and storyboarding. The storyboard artist.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. See, learn something new every day.
Every day. But yeah, this title card, as we now know, is still at the beach, still a nice morning day, soft blue.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean we were kind of seeing the same title card. We've had the same title card the past couple of times.
Mm-hmm. They're sticking to the beach, and they're sticking to Beach City, and they're sticking to daytime. So
Which makes sense.
yeah,
Totally makes sense.
yeah.
But we start the episode with the Jims all looking into this lake area and being like, this doesn't look good, though we don't know what about it doesn't look good.
Yeah. I will say I have to know how Steven got down there without any of the gems noticing.
That's a great question because I mean, it's down there.
Especially after last episode where they were so concerned about his mortality, you'd think they'd be watching him like a hawk.
That's a really good point, actually. I didn't think about that point. But that's a very, very good point.
I know that this season 1 is episodic, so these might be out of order, but I feel like this happened after that, and they should be eyes on Steven at all times.
Yes. Yeah, I would constantly have eyes on Steven, even if you didn't almost just die.
Mhm.
But we see Steven starts to reach down and the moss starts to grow towards him, and then Garnet throws a big old rock that catapults Steven back into the arms of Pearl in safety.
Which she did that so fast, no hesitation.
Zero hesitation.
Again, Garnet, I thought violence was the answer. She's right most of the time. It is.
It is usually.
Also, so strong.
You gotta love a strong lady.
Love it.
You gotta love a strong lady.
Yeah, I do also like that it does show the difference between the way Pearl treats Garnet versus the way Pearl treats Amethyst. Because if Amethyst had thrown a rock at Steven, Pearl would freak out.
Oh, I mean, for real though, Pearl really, really trusts all of Garnet's decisions.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, questions all of Amethyst. And I don't know if that's just because Garnet is not older than Amethyst, well, not older than Pearl, but is still older, and Amethyst is still like a kid in a way.
Yeah. I mean, Garnet also is older than Amethyst, like physically.
Yes. Yes, they are older, but or is it also because, they know that she has the future vision
True. Hmm.
and kind of trust the future vision?
Yeah. There is also, I mean, I think we don't, spoilers, we'll find this out later. Pearl and Garnet have a much longer and deeper relationship
Yes.
than Amethyst is, because Amethyst is a very recent addition. She wasn't there for the entirety of the war, which spanned thousands of years that Pearl and Garnet got to know each other.
Yes, it's very much like like the old grade school friend versus like maybe the college friend.
Yeah. It's just they have a different, relationship. There are things about before the war and before, the whole co- event and before Rose's passing that just Amethyst wasn't there for to build that relationship with. And they've
Hmm.
only known Amethyst as a child
Hmm.
because Amethyst popped out of the kindergarten. These are all spoilers for later episodes.
We said spoiler filled, so
We did say that, so that's kind of a given.
we were not joking.
Yeah, but to unspoiler on this episode, we do, Garnet throws the rock, saves Steven, and when they point to like what he should be worried about, the moss is consuming things in that little pit.
Yeah, we see like this like mallard duck fly down, and then the moss tries to steal it, and they're all like, "Oh, well, Rose Quartz planted this and used to go to the top of the hill, but now that Rose is gone, no one knows what to do."
Because yeah, they mentioned she went to the hill every spring. I have to wonder if her tears brought this moss to life, like pumpkin, or if it's like a watermelon Steven kind of deal.
I feel like maybe it was a watermelon Steven kind of deal. I mean, really, it wouldn't surprise me if Rose Quartz was just like experimenting
Mhm.
on stuff. Because we see at the very end, the flowers have like gems in them. So I'm like, oh, did you make like a weird gem plant hybrid when you were not rose quartz? And then kind of realize that maybe it's a danger to the humans.
Because she goes there every spring to deal with the moss, and
Hmm.
we don't 100% know how gems are made. We know that it requires some sort of elements that are deep in the earth,
Hmm.
not specifically our Earth, but planets as a whole.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if that has the if just Rose was curious about how that would come about. We know that the diamonds, well, we'll find out that the diamonds were experimenting with other ways to make gems, what to do with gem shards when they were shattered, the entire horrific event that is the cluster.
Yes.
So it is a question of like, hey, what makes gems and can you make them, like, even just as a non threatening thing, but is Rose trying to figure out how to make gems without having to destroy a planet?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like it's definitely like an experiment that didn't maybe go as well as she thought, but didn't want to destroy.
Mhm. And I mean, even still, if even if it is just something as simple as a sort of watermelon Steven
Hmm.
incident where Rose did not know that she would bring something to life, it's alive now and she has to take care of it.
Right, which she does, but I'm just kind of like, did you never think of, there's a few times I've been thinking throughout this season so far of being like, Rose, you kind of had an idea that you would cease to exist when Stephen was born. At no point were you like, hey guys, so my laser light cannon's in Greg's garage. There's moss that's going to be growing. You should really take it up to the top of the hill to bloom every spring. I'm like, did we give zero directions?
Zero. By the way, there's this lion none of you know about.
Yeah.
You should go deal with it.
By the way, I had pink lions.
I had pink lions. I had living lions. They didn't even know about the regular lions that Rose had, which we see later. She used to just hang out with regular
Regular
lions.
lions. So it's like, did Rose just not provide? But I'd be like, did you just not go, oh, I'm gonna cease to exist? Maybe I should tell the other gyms some important information.
I mean, I think it runs into two things. One, we know currently Garnet goes on solo missions and says nothing about them, and I wonder if before that it was Rose who would do that exact same behavior of go on solo missions, go out, do stuff, and never tell anyone about it because why would they ever question her authority? And more than that, genuinely, it didn't occur to her to have to explain this. And then for as much as she, I assume, had an inkling that she would cease to exist, she's still not human. And I don't know if she knew that you wouldn't get any of the memories, that Stephen would know truly nothing.
That's fair. Okay, I'll give you that. That they weren't really sure what would actually happen.
Yeah, because, again, spoilers, as we'll find out later, there was no idea on if Stephen would exist, be born, if it would just be another Rose. They did not know what would happen if it would just be reforming. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And also the fact that we learn later, she didn't even know babies were humans. She thought they were something else.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess I'll give her some leeway in just assuming, oh, well, Stephen has my memories of some capacity where the crystal gems will be emotionally competent enough to handle this. Big mistake.
Big mistake, as we learn.
Don't, they're not, Rose. Your faith in them is a little bit too much.
Thank goodness for Vidalia.
Thank goodness for Vidalia. And
Or
Greg to an
else,
extent.
and Greg, because Greg loves Steven.
I was going to say I can get to it when we get to the episode, but I'll say it now. There is still a large, widely accepted headcanon that Greg's sunburns come from Stephen's birth.
Yes, you mentioned that, I
I
think the
did.
first
I
time we
think
met Greg.
that's right. So never mind. I can say it now. Where it's like, yeah, I don't think either of them really knew what was going to happen.
No, I mean, okay, I will, like I said, I will give you that's fair. That's a good
But
point.
also, but also, I do think you're right that Rose should be telling people. I don't think they had any inkling of what would happen. Rose should still be telling people information, even if she didn't have an inkling that she was going to disappear forever. Explain to your friends real threats to the world. You have to tell them when things are happening.
So that way the response isn't Pearl's response, which is making police tape appear.
Yes.
Them
Oh,
just police taping the area off.
I
Like it's
honestly,
not gonna
what?
keep growing.
Well, that's not the plan. I guess they were like, well, it'll just keep the humans from going towards the moss, and it's not like the moss can get out of there without something alive.
I'm just like, that's a great plan, guys. Just block it off. That'll definitely stop everyone.
Yeah, I want to say I love Pearl's one when she's like, "I have an amazing plan," and her dumb little smirk that she has of like, "I have an amazing plan, guys. Watch." Love that, and also her weird dance. What is this for?
It's the weird police line dance.
And I feel like it's a dance because they had to make it special that things could come out of her gem because none of the other gems do that. But as the
Yeah.
show goes on, they just scrap that immediately and go, she can just pull things out of there. Let's not have her do this dance every time.
Maybe she did the dance this time because she was so excited to show how smart she was.
I see, I would believe that. I think she got excited and was like, I gotta show this off,
Yeah. She's like, I gotta show how I do this.
which is
So
hilarious.
this is so good. But the
Pearl.
gyms start using said police line. They have Amethyst throw it like a fastball to Garnet, and then they just wrap it all around, and then tie it off with a big old bow.
Yeah, which also, I did have a little note in there. I was like, Garnet as a catcher playing baseball, foreshadowing for seasons
Mm,
later. Hmm?
mm.
Where she's super good at it. Seasons later, we'll have
Which I love that
payoff.
episode.
Such a good episode.
Such a good episode. But yeah, it's a great catcher.
I also love their unwavering faith in humanity. It's like, yes, the police tape will stop them. Humans follow the law. I've never heard of crime.
No one will cross that. Humans will always follow the law. Yeah, everyone will always do what the line says.
There's no such thing as crime to gems, which
No.
to Pearl and Garnet, sure. Well, to Pearl, sure. Garnet, Amethyst, you know that that's not true. Someone's gonna bypass this.
Amethyst definitely knows it's not true.
Amethyst, you commit crimes.
I'm like, Amethyst. I was like, Amethyst, that would not stop Amethyst.
Exactly. I'm like, Amethyst, you commit crimes daily.
Constantly.
So why would this? You know what? I want to have as much faith in humanity as the gems do.
I wish I could as well. It's not gonna happen.
Honestly, I think they're just having fun.
Yeah, they're just not gonna worry about it.
Mhm.
That's a later them problem is the moss.
It's a later than problem.
And getting it to the hill.
Well, yeah, I don't think they know. I truly think this Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl are not thinking at all this episode. They're just like, and we blocked it off, and that solves the problem forever. We'll never look at this again.
We'll never have to deal with this again because it's not gonna come back in 2 seconds.
That wouldn't happen. That never happens to us.
No, no. But Steven's like, cool, we did a good job. I'm gonna get some pizza.
Hmm.
And ask the gyms, and of course the gyms are like, ugh.
I do love his anyone hungry? And it's like, just me then. I'm like, Steven, they don't eat. They've said this so many times. Amethyst might come. Pearl and Garnet aren't going to come get food with you.
Aren't gonna show up.
They might go to the restaurant physically. They will not eat food with you.
Correct. You know who also will not eat food with Steven?
Lars.
Lars. Because Lars is outside the pizza place and immediately starts acting all nervous that Steven is there coming to say hi to him and gives him a high five to his chest.
Yeah, I will say it's very important to note Lars isn't just hanging out outside. He's like leaning against the wall, one leg up, with a jacket thrown over his shoulder.
He's cool guy leaning.
Cool guy leaning. He's loitering.
He's loitering. Foreshadowing for the future crime.
Future crimes. Also, to those beautiful viewers outside of, not viewers, you're not looking at anything, listeners, clods. If you're outside of the US, we have a crime that's called loitering, which I recently learned doesn't exist in other countries. Because why would it? It's the crime of, are you standing around not doing anything? That's illegal. Get out of here. Other countries don't have that
Oh, I mean,
because they're normal.
yeah.
It's illegal to stand outside of properties and or businesses and do nothing.
It is in fact illegal, and there's many no loitering signs around.
This is a crime against young people and the bored or homeless.
You know, started to build architecture to keep kids from doing that.
Yeah.
Anywho's,
So, yes, so that's what Lars is doing. He's outside loitering, hanging out, and as he mentioned, Steven's excited to see him, tries to give him a high five. Hits his chest instead because Steven is a tiny boy.
and Lars won't give him a high five.
Yeah, and won't give him a high five.
And they discover, well, Steven discovers that Lars is waiting outside the pizza place because the cool kids are in there, aka Ginny, Sour Cream, and Buck Dewey.
I know that he's just hanging out. I feel like he's got to have been out there at least 10 minutes just watching those three inside.
Oh, he was hardcore watching them.
Yeah, just hanging out. Well, the three of them, they're inside, along with Kiki, just kind of having a normal time, just chatting.
Yeah, just hanging out.
I mean, so it's Jenny Pizza, so Kiki's sister. So she's here obviously probably pretty often. So I feel like they just kind of cycle between the three of them. Well, I probably Jenny and Sour Cream's place, and just kind of cycle between who's gonna hang out. They don't go to Bucks.
Yeah. Oh no, they don't go to Bucks. They don't want to deal with Mayor Dewey.
It's not worth it. Hey, Buck, we
It's
love you,
not
but
worth
we
it.
don't like your dad. So you want to come hang out at our place?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine them hanging out at the pizza place a lot for pizza.
Exactly. You get pizza probably at a discounted price. I feel like Jenny and Kiki don't have to pay full price, if at all, for pizzas.
Yeah.
They just have to make them. It's like, well, we get free pizza, but we also have to make the pizza.
Right.
But yeah, they're just hanging out, having a conversation. Jenny's telling a gross joke, and Buck's like, I don't like gross stuff.
Yeah, we find out that Lars really wants to hang out with them, and Steven's like, just go hang out with him. And Lars is, no, you have to just act cool.
Exactly. You have to act cool, and they'll come to you.
So they leave and don't look at him, and Lars is automatically like, you're blocking me with your big hair.
Yeah. Steven, my sweet, sweet boy, who's just been like, why don't you go talk to them? Why don't you just ask them if you want to hang out? Which is the correct way to make friends. High school, awful trying to make friends. I want to do it the elementary school way, which is just walking up to people and going, do you want to hang out?
I have this shiny rock. Can we be best friends?
Yes. That's honestly best way to make friends.
Best way to make friends. Yeah, I can't tell you, hey, I like your shirt. Best friends.
Exactly. As opposed to, I know I gotta be like cool and play this weird social game.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Not good at that at all.
Steven, he's such a sweet boy. He blocks, the view of Lars with his big hair. So when Lars says that, Steven goes, "Okay, I'll go over there and talk to them and tell them to go look at you."
So are we to believe this is in fact the first time he's ever talked to the cool kids?
I would believe so.
All I mean, even Jenny?
Jenny, no. Well, I want to say no, but it's clear that Jenny doesn't hang out at the pizzeria. She doesn't really do work here. She might do deliveries, but I don't think she actually stays at the pizzeria because we get that episode way later where Kiki has a breakdown because she feels like she has to do everything for the family in the house, and Jenny like oh steps up.
But I definitely feel like the few times that Jenny has actually done her job, Steven orders a bunch of
I wonder
pizza.
though if Kiki's the one handling it because
You
Jenny's
know it.
doing the thing where you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna go do deliveries," and it's like we only have one delivery for today. She's like, "I'm doing deliveries." She delivers one pizza and is gone for the rest of the day.
Maybe. I mean, sour cream and Buck Dewey, I could kind of understand. I think Jenny is an oversight.
Also, I feel like they go to school. Like they must at some point have like an actual school life. So I guess Steven just doesn't see them during the
Yeah.
school year. And then during the summer when it's relaxing, Jenny is doing everything in her power to avoid this place.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm still just kind of like I feel like there's no way.
I feel like they had passing conversation, but never like introduced or talked to each other as friends. Like he's definitely ordered a pizza and she's handed it to him, but I don't think
Mhm.
they've stuck around each other for more than like 5 minutes.
And I feel like just knowing Steven would just strike up a conversation.
True, but also I think they have to have talked. I just don't know if they've talked for long.
Yeah, they've had if they've like introduction.
Steven probably has said his name to Jenny. I feel like he said it multiple times. I don't know if she remembers. There's no way. Yeah, I feel like he's introduced himself to her.
Mm, okay. I guess I'll accept that. I'll accept that.
I'm also wondering if it because this is before Steven gets like weird, where like because for the early seasons, Beach City is weird, but they do this weird disconnect where like all of the gem stuff is so separate from the human things that it feels like different worlds. And I'm wondering if that's where we're at right now, where just like truly no concept of
They're very Magic Girl-esque, which was the original concept, is that they'd have, like, normal lives, but actually be gems. So it still feels like they have that vibe.
that vibe where it's like none of them know about the weird gem stuff. Because we'll get there later where it's like, yeah, Steven, the magic boy who lives in our town. But we're not there yet. Right now, he's just weird kid with his dad who lives in a
Right.
van,
We're not there yet, no. This kid who lives by himself.
who lives with three magical women who were pretending are normal humans for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, the one's purple and one's reddish and one is pale, pale white.
Oh, white that a human couldn't be, even as pale as sour cream is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that he's definite. I think you're right in that he and Jenny have had to have spoken to each other. They had to have had conversations.
Yeah, I feel like they've had to have conversations, but while Steven's talking to these kids, Lars is, like, freaking out.
Yeah, but he's having, that teenage breakdown of like, hey, I people are gonna perceive me, and that's too much for me.
No, and Steven's gonna embarrass me by saying something weird, and then Steven starts dancing, and Lars is, like, practically in tears.
I feel that there's a lot of teenage years are a lot of emotions. None of them good
Teenagers a lot of emotions, but ends up being that they invite him and Steven, Lars and Steven, to go for a ride.
because again, they're cool kids by nature of just being so chill.
They're nice, cool kids. So they all hop into the pizza Jeep?
If I know, I'm like I can't. It's a convertible of some kind.
Pizza convertible, which I think is the first time we see it. In the car, Steven is automatically, like, friends with the cool kids. Him and Buck talk about their shirts, and then Lars tries to break in and kind of gets shot down because the Dewey compliments Steven's shirt. Steven's like, "Oh, I don't know where it's from." And then he tells Lars more or less like, "Oh, snakes are gross." And Lars is like, "Yeah, they suck. Hate them." And of course, the opposite. Dewey says the opposite of like, "Oh, some are cool." We get this a few times where Lars is just trying really hard to fit in. and just keeps being a swing and a miss. And you start to I kinda start to feel bad for Lars because I feel that way, like, I'll, misconstrued what someone says and I'll respond to it, and then it's like, "Oh, I'm the weird one." And it's like, I don't know how to catch a vibe.
Mhm. Yeah, I do feel bad for that, but then there's some of those where I'm like, "Lars, you gotta stop being." It's not even trying hard, it's just being rude. It's like don't calling Steven lame, being like, "Oh yeah, no, this thing is boring," or whatever. Like, stick to something. Hey, even if it's weird, stick to the opinion you have. Do you think this car looks cool? Stick with it. Do you think it looks lame? Stick with it, but pick one.
Yes, he does. Yes, and these just kind of, like, flip-flop constantly.
Which I get. I remember being there where it's like, whatever's coolest, I'm into. I'm That's the vibe, is whatever you think is cool, but like, no.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe not everyone, but I did it too, where you're like, "Oh, I want to be cool."
Yes. Oh no, I did too.
So I'm just gonna say whatever, even if it's not right. Anyways, so yeah, it happens a few times where Lars just kinda his attempts keep getting, like, shut down, and you can tell he's feeling kinda bad about himself.
Yeah. The one that Yeah, I will say the one he should be shut down, and they're right for doing it, is Steven says time to buckle up, and Laura says quit being lame, to which Sour Cream immediately goes, there is nothing lame about safety.
The car doesn't move till everyone's buckled up, which sounds like, "Yeah."
And Jenny's like, yeah, and I'm like, actually, I'm 100% right. Put your seatbelt on. There's nothing lame about this.
It's very true, always wear your
This is what
seatbelts.
cool kids do.
They're good for you. Seatbelts save lives.
Hmm.
Yeah, hear that, Claudes? Cool kids wear seatbelts. So they're trying to figure out where to go, and they finally decide to go to Dead Man's
Yeah,
Mouth? That's what they call it, right? Yeah,
Dead
Dead
Man's
Man's
Mouth.
Mouth. And I really loved that. It's like, it's either a dead body was found there or it's shaped like a
Or
mouth.
this is different.
I don't remember why it's called this, which I feel like is so, like, when you're in a small town and there's something named something weird that everyone has a
Hmm.
different story about why it's called that,
It's called
and
something.
just being like, "Meh,
We exactly, like, I don't remember why,
it's
but
because of this reason."
my brother's cousin's uncle once saw his friend do this, and that's why it's called that. And you're like, okay. I
Yes.
also I like that they're driving around and past the big donut, and Lars is like, God, leave, go to Funland. They Sour Cream has a vulnerable moment when they pass Funland, and he's like, I've beaten all the games there 3 million times. Lars says I did the same. And then Sour Cream, admits he's
Mhm.
like, I think I was just exaggerating to seem cool. Which, hey, we love that. We love honesty. We love honesty.
We love honesty,
Hmm.
and Steven even says that.
Also, I have to believe that Sour Cream and Onion have played those games together.
Oh,
It's so fun.
yes. 100%. Sour cream was playing it, and then
Yeah.
Onion just busted open the thing and took the tickets. 100%. Then we pass by Mayor Dewey, and they stop, and, of course, he's like, "Oh, I love babies."
Yep, he does kiss a baby on the cheek for a little too long.
A long time. Because, like, he never kissed me like that.
So you're being weird. Also, you run uncontested. What are you campaigning for? No one else is running for mayor. You're
Ugh,
yet.
no one else is running for mayor yet.
Whose baby is this also? She just found it. Did you
Mm.
just find a strange baby?
Who is it? Because it looks a little bit like maybe what a young
Mm-hmm.
sibling of
It's
Onion would
just
look like.
just a random baby. Did he kisses on the cheek?
Just a random baby that he kisses on the cheek, and, if we get the great line, what is it? The great line of, like, my "Oh, Buck says the lack of daddy kisses in my life made me who I am."
Mhm. He does shoot down Lars because he points out, he's like, my dad never kissed me like that. And Lars goes, that's rough. And that's when we get that cool line from Buck. But no, straight up, that's rough, bro. Your father should show you positive affection in your life. That is rough. He should have kissed you like that on the cheek when you were a baby. And I'm sorry, he didn't.
Yeah, right. And then I'm like, oh, poor Lars.
It's like you don't need to shoot Lars down. I can't also I feel bad for Lars because like he's trying so hard, but also I get why they're shooting him down because he's trying so hard.
So hard.
It's not fun to be around a tryhard. Like it's objectively exhausting to be like, you gotta pick. I
No.
I don't even care anymore if you are trying to be cool. I just need you to pick an opinion and stick with it because this is exhausting.
Yes, and stop trying to do whatever I want to do or say whatever I want to say or whatever.
And I've been that. I've been a tryhard. It's exhausting to be one, and it definitely brings the vibe down because, like, yeah, you're not a real person. You're just kind of a
Yeah.
mirror who exists in the room, and it's like amazing. What am I gonna do with this? But poor Lars gets shot down again for genuine emotion of being like, yeah, that's rough. That your father doesn't show you affection. That's bad. Buck, that is a
Yep.
bad thing. I know you're trying to be
That's
cool and
bad.
emotionally distant right now because if you think about it, it would hurt. But like genuinely, that is bad that your dad's like that.
It's very sad.
I was gonna say you're right. They get that cool line and then go to dead man's mouth,
Right, where they're like, "Oh, I wonder what this is. I wonder," and then it ends up being the camera or the screen kinda shows that the police tape, which means they're back at the Moss.
which, oh no, what are they going to do? They can't go there. The police tape will stop them.
Yep.
Or more honestly, Steven going, this place seems cool. We should leave. Without me explaining why, because again, we're in the early seasons where I can't talk about magic.
Yes, and they just rip it down, and we get the line, "The law was the law. I'm above the law." Is that what he says? Is that what Buck Dewey rips it down and goes, "I'm above the law."
Mhm. I do also like that it's Lars finally getting a chance to be the cool kid he's trying to be, and he's the one who leads them there. He's like, let's go check this place out. And that they're actually listening and interested
Yes.
in it.
They are, they're like, "Hey, let's go swim."
I mean, even outside of the moss, kind of gross water. That can't be clean. Gotta be mushy somehow.
Kinda gross water.
It can't. I don't understand putting yourself into bodies of water that are not clear. If I can't see the bottom, I
It's
don't want to be in it.
I mean, I've swam in
Ugh.
lakes and stuff, but it's never really my favorite.
If I cannot see through the water, I'm not getting in it. Absolutely not.
See, the Midwest thing is I'm like, "It's a lake." You swim in a lot of lakes. I've swam in a lot of lakes.
No, we have our one big ocean and we go, that's the water. You can see through it. I can see unless it's frothing, in which case, get out. Get out of the water now. But like, oof, gross.
There's just a lot of lakes, man.
True. This, I feel, has to be gross. Also, I mean, Steven knows where the police
This
tape
one's
is
probably
there.
really
They
gross.
don't. And my immediate thought would be dead body in the water or contaminants, some kind of hazard.
Mine too would be like, "Hey, this means something." Especially when I saw the moss on top, I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hmm,
Like maybe not the moss is I wouldn't think the moss is the threat,
this
but like
is."
there's got to be some kind of problem here.
Yeah. But they all just like, "Hey, let's go for a swim." We find out that sour cream's pants are the ones that back in my day were really popular with you could unzip the bottom of your pants to make them shorts, which I had a pair. They were pretty gnarly.
Also, I love those. That's so cool.
Up there, the snap windbreakers, had a pair of those too.
Just takes off the just the bottom part.
Just the bottom part.
Also, Lars is so fast to take his shirt off. So quick.
Yeah, he's like, "Let's do this." And they all start, Steven's like, "Don't do it, don't do it." And they just think he's setting up the atmosphere. And then the cool kids go run and jump into the water. And Steven just grabs Lars and starts sobbing. Don't.
He is sobbing so much and Lars is ignoring it. I'm like, Steven's usually stopped you before, but he is crying. Like something's up.
Something's up, my man. And we find out what that something is because all the cool kids get surrounded by moss and then pulled in.
Also, I'm realizing right now, was Lars going to get into this water with his shoes on
Yes, he was.
and socks? Like the cool kids all took their shoes and socks
Yeah.
off.
I
I You're gonna get your
I
shoes wet?
do not
Disgusting.
like it. I
Sensory
don't like wet
nightmares.
socks, I don't like wet shoes. Sensory nightmares. And Steven's feet get wet and get one of his legs gets taken over by moss.
Yeah. Cool kids get tracked down. Steven's one leg gets wet, and the moss is straight up trying to eat them.
Yeah, just keep enveloping him, and Steven realizes they gotta take him to the hill, but Lars just loses his temper on Steven and says, "This is your
Yeah.
fault. This is your weird
Because
mom's
Steven points
fault."
out that it's the moss's mom planted, and Lars is like, I knew this something,
Yeah,
if it happened, it'd be because of you, which,
yeah. And this is kind of the first time we get the really big reaction from Steven about
hmm
his mom. Be like, "You think you know my mom? I don't even know my mom."
which is like, yeah, genuinely a sad moment. Because Lars is being, I mean, he's fair to be upset because it seems like the cool kids are about to suffocate and die, and he's kind of crying when he blows
Yeah,
up at Steven. But that's taking it a step too far, and Steven gets genuinely upset about that. Because, yeah, he didn't get to know his mom. Don't call
yeah,
his mom weird. Don't treat her like she's some kind of other when he didn't even get to know what she was like. And I think Steven's also kind of fed up about the entire
but
day of Lars being mean to him.
yeah. Oh, for sure. But I do appreciate that Lars realizes what he said wasn't okay almost immediately. Like you see his face change,
The moment he says, "You're weird, mom," he's like, okay, yeah, actually, that is too far.
and he kind of, like his face drops almost.
Yeah,
And it's you kind of see that real human moment that Lars does have every once in a while.
yeah. Also, Stephen, I am rewatching that part again, and he's got like tears in his eyes when he says, "I didn't even get to know my mom." Which, like, yeah, it's. I
Yeah.
know we talk about it a lot of like Rose disappearing or going away, but like, there's a real like realistic thing of like this is a kid with a dead mom that he feels like it's his fault, and to an extent, it is. Like, yeah, it's my fault that my mom's gone, and I got to live with that, and
Yes.
also this weird expectation that everyone has of me to be better than she was. But she's gone, and I don't know what she was like. So how can I be better than her when she was perfect in everyone's eyes?
Yeah, and everyone just sees her as this just like great thing.
Mhm. And also, emotionally, he needs his mom. Like he doesn't have one. He doesn't have a mother. He doesn't have that sort of consistent maternal figure that other characters get to have. He just doesn't have a mom. And that's sad. That's so sad.
It's sad. It's sad. So Lars realizes his mistake and is like, "Okay, what do we need to do?" So they drag the three cool kids into the not Jeep,
The jalopy.
the jalopy, jalopy convertible, the beach car, and Lars doesn't know how to drive a stick. So, leave it to the 14-year-old.
I mean, valid. Just looking at his thing, going, I don't know what to do with this. Something.
And they finally make it their way with very bad, scary driving, but the moss is starting to
hmm
overtake the car.
They make it there and have to drag their friends like a straight up dead body to the top of the hill. Also, I put a bit in there.
While they're also getting enveloped.
True, and they're also getting enveloped and like can barely walk. I also had a joke I fully forgot to say is I guess we know why it's called Dead Man's Mouth when they're getting swallowed by the moss mouth. I was going, okay, well now we know why it's called Dead Man's Mouth, and it just swallows them whole. Listen, it would have made more
That's a
sense
great
at the
joke.
time. I'm glad I said it
No,
late.
it's
It's
good. I'm glad you said it
you
now.
get to hear it late, Claudes.
It's so good.
And
Enjoy it. So they drag him up the hill. They get enveloped. I pause it right at a moment where you see that the moss that has Buck Dewey has his glasses outlined.
I do love that. His cool shades.
His cool shades. So you think they're doomed, and Lars gets one more burn of, he goes, Steven, and Steven's like, what? And he just goes, this sucks.
I mean, it does, but Lars, really?
Because you think he's going to say something meaningful, and he just says, this sucks.
Just
So good. So you kind of think that they're doomed, and then the sun comes out,
shines down on the moss
and then the moss blooms.
into lovely pink flowers with gems in the center.
Yeah, with little gems in the center.
It's super pretty.
It's gorgeous, and the cool kids wake up, and they're all like, "What's going on?" Sour Cream's like, "I think I died."
Yeah. Listen, not fully. You'd be pinker if that happened.
And then they look out and they see just the gorgeous view of Beach City with all the flowers,
Yeah, because the top of the hill also overlooks all of Beach City.
which is beautiful. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And Lars starts to give Steven the credit, and then Steven is like, "Hey, Lars drove us here," which then kind of gets Lars the admiration he's been looking for.
Yeah, from the cool kids.
Sour cream starts raving,
Yes, DJ Rave Master, which love that for him.
which is more or less just him flinging his pant legs around.
Listen, your first rave is not great.
You know, it's fine. Just let it happen.
Yeah, but we get our final little card, and it's Steven holding a hand up for a high five, and Lars shakes his head, which you're like, oh no. And then instead he gives Steven a high five on his chest.
Just like they did at the beginning, and Steven returns it, and then the start wipe is on Lars's face. And we get the very last. All right, we're done.
Exactly, he's like, okay, that's enough. Which, listen, still a teenager.
Still a teenager. We can't get too crazy, but that's the whole episode. You know, is it in my like top 10 faves? No. Was it still enjoyable and I kind of forgot how enjoyable it was? Yes.
Yeah, super fun. A little embarrassing, a lot of secondhand embarrassment, but very fun.
Very fun. Yeah, no, that was a good. I kind of forget that one exists, and I'm glad we I mean, obviously we're going to cover it anyways, but it's still a good one. That was like a nice chilling as we start to ramp up to the really kind of I think we're really heading into the heavier episodes of season 1 soon.
Yeah, I believe we get into the what is it? Lion 2 is coming soon.
Yeah, Lion 2 is coming soon.
And Stephen and the Sword Fighter and Rose's room. Yeah, we're
Mm.
about to get into the dangerous one.
Yeah, Rose's room's we're kind of starting to hit those.
The sort of legally required doppelganger episodes where they have to die horrifically, Stephen and the Stevens.
Oh God, I forgot about Steven and the Stevens.
But those are all future episodes. For now, we're done with Lars and the cool kids. We got to see some cool kids being super chill, and Lars trying really hard and getting closer to Steven out of it and a little bit closer to the cool kids.
Yeah, just a
Perfect.
nice, well-rounded episode. Well, if the cool kids want to find us, Squid, how can they go about finding us?
They can find us, wherever you get your podcasts as Crystal Thems Pod, and on Twitter as Crystal Thems Pod, or Instagram as The Crystal Thems Podcast. You can also email us at crystalthemspodcast@gmail.com. Note that the music is the Faymile by Arcane Anthems for our intro and outro music, and Liz does our lovely designs for the logo.
Yeah. So, check out all of our socials, but also check out Arcane Anthems. They have some really cool music.
And remember, you're one of us, Clods. We wouldn't be the Crystal Thems without you.
Catch you on the flip side.